Hello everyone, I'm Simone, tech specialist at Kiloview. Thank you to have joined me in today's webinar. I'm truly excited because today we're gonna have a look on the Cradle RF02, our new and most advanced product in the Kiloview lineup. So as far as we have a lot of things to handling and see, I will go fast into a PowerPoint PPT deck. And especially, I hope everyone can hear me and see my video feed as well. If you have any question, don't forget to put it in a Q&A session or in the chat group. And at the end of the presentation and the demo, we're gonna reply to all your questions. So no further hesitation, and let's have a look on the Cradle RF02. As I mentioned before, the Cradle RF02 is our most advanced unified media center. But first of all, why you as a customer might need a solution like that? I think you might need to basically overcome to use multiple devices all at once, solve the complex configuration you have in your network setup. Definitely find something really cost effective that don't break your pockets, and something that's a great unified system solution. And at this moment being, there's a lack of media gateway solution to transcode back and forth various signals in various codec all in the same product. And definitely you might have to looking for something not only broadcast related, but also for Pro AV scenarios. Of course, as I mentioned before, high cost, it's a really one of the key points for this kind of products. You can tell like adding a switch with a rack mount chassis, encoders and decoder card might have a really big impact in terms of cost related productions. And of course, also the network part is very, very restricted to having multiple number of cables and a complex configuration topology. And as last but not for really lack of importance, you find out a lots of product with a super chunky design, whether you start to adding a switch, a computer unit, and a lot of other products all together, you might end it up to have multiple rack units all at once. Well, Cradle RF02 come to support your needs. Basically, this unit is a comprehensive system that aggregates three main parts: switch unit, encoder and decoder plus transcoder, card solution up to 18 card system all in the same unit, plus a management server that act as an orchestrator for all your system. Everything into just 2 unit rack. Basically, from the architectural standpoint of view, every single slots or every single cards can achieve up to 1 or 2.5 gigabit network to the engine. There's no requirement for an external switch because, as I mentioned before, the Cradle itself is a fully functional switch solution. So this will occupy, of course, less cabling distraction because you might need just one cable to run everything all together. There will be an high-speed connectivity up to 3 SFP plus via fiber and 1 via copper interface are available in the unit. There will be a super simplified management from the topology standpoint of view. And as I mentioned before, there will be an integrated Kilolink Server Pro. So all your devices can be easily managed from one single place. Before we mentioned we're gonna have encoders, decoder, transcoders, and media gateway card. Plus with the FMG 400 especially, we're gonna serve for bonding solution for our P series. And the efficient of operation and maintenance is a great feature for this platform. Everything is completely modular. there will be no problem to firmware update your units from one single place. Moving forward, of course, everything is modular in the system. So from the cards to the engine to the power supply themselves, everything can be basically changed over time. This will give a lot of flexibility for the future being for this product itself, because this is basically the starting point for Kiloview about this reference design. And we are thinking about many other things to come into this Cradle series product. So let's talk about what we have in terms of cards related product. There will be the FM50 and FM60, which basically are our companion card that are designed on top of N50s and N60 boxed version encode decode unit. This product will be able to process 422 10-bit HDR in NDI HX. They are capable of NDI high bandwidth and encoding various protocols such as SRT, RTMP, RTSP, and so on. And especially latest update will also introduce NDI bridge and some great feature. On the other side, we're gonna have the media gateway. The FMG 400 is basically the updated version of our product, the MG300 V2. This card is, practically speaking, a transcoder gateway that gives you the possibility to basically transcode every single protocol you have in your mind, such as NDI HX, SRT, RTMP, to every other single protocol. It's designed to have and maintain an IP to IP solution. So basically, there will be no baseband output for this card, but it's supposed to work totally into the IP world. And as you can look at the picture, it also serves as a bonding server. So you will be able to transcode the P3 and P3 mini signal within the FMG 400, then to be recasted to baseband solution with our FN50s and FN60s. We're gonna have also announced a pretty incredible product for this lineup, which is the FXC A8600. This will be a computer card. So basically speaking, into two slots compared to the single slot card, we're gonna have a professional grade compute unit that can work side by side with the Cradle solution. So you can install your favorite kind of application, third-party software application, or of course our Kiloview product like the KISS Intercom Server, Multiview, NDI Core, and so on. It's a fully featured compute unit, so you will be able to install both Windows or Linux, and it will be completely centralized in the RF02 web portal. Just to give you a brief example of what you can do with some solution of this kind, is basically imagine to have a lot of cameras and need to convert this camera baseband to NDI solution with a software like vMix. You ended up with a fully integrated 2-unit workstation that basically gives you an hybrid workflow, whether you have SDI or HDMI to NDI and vice versa. You can use program and software like vMix or OBS or whatever you want to use and give a super and effective video switching solution into unit rack within, of course, our FM50s, FM60s, and our FMGs 400 cards, all together combined into 2-unit rack. On the other hand, the power of the compute unit will give another branch that we are not super familiar in terms of product design, but we want to give the audience the possibility to use also this compute unit as an audio mixing solution to bridge USB, analog, Dante, and NDI completely in a glance of software solution. This is really incredible as a thoughtful mind in terms of production speaking. So softwares like Llama Lean, Llama Mix, and Llama Connect will help you through basically bridging all these various mixing solutions all together, whether to be analog, to USB, to Dante, to NDI. You can have your digital audio mixer in the same solution. So the same 2-unit rack can hosting your video switching and your audio mixer all together. And that's really a great solution overall. So basically what I want to address is that you can kind of substitute Nobi track into unit rack. Yeah, the answer is quite yes, because the Cradle RF02 can perform most of the tasks of a modern production, like encoding, decoding, transcode, streaming, bonding, and of course, remote production itself. What's more, we have, of course, an efficient cooling solution with a 5-fan in the front of the unit for the heat dissipation. There will be a redundant 500 watts power supply. So no matter any power loss, you will be always able to power your unit, and everything will be controlled from a 3-inch front LCD of the unit itself. So what's the environment you can fit a product like RF02? Of course, there's a few examples like broadcast and television and healthcare, education and e-learning, conference over large-scale displays, sport and live streaming, theater, courtroom, drone, and more. Of course, solution and application and target customer vary a lot because this platform is super powerful. Whether you are using something like you are in the solution like broadcast, OB-WAN, studios, enterprise and conference, house of worship, film solution, training, government, sports and esports. Basically, these products allow you to have the most flexible solution into just 2-unit rack. I will now go forward and show you a little demo of the product itself, starting from its design and how to connect the card, and then we're gonna have a look on the web UI. So let's go. Okay, here's the fly case with the Cradle unit. As you can tell, in just 3-unit rack, I've been able to fit a power outlet and the unit. In order to open the Cradle, we have 2 screws, one on the left and one on the right. If we unscrew, then we can remove the lid. All right, you see it's coming full equipped with my cards I've already mounted, but just to let you understand, this is the engine. Okay, you click this little snapping tool, and you're gonna see this is the engine of our Cradle RF02. Also, this modem is hot swappable, so it's ready for future updating. When you insert it back, be sure you get the card aligned with the binaries on the Cradle itself. And then, when you got it, just simply snap it in. For the cards, instead, for example, let me show you this. We have all these little brackets that hold on the card in place. In order to move the card out from the Cradle, you have to pull gently to the right and then down. When it's in this position, we're able to basically insert and remove the cards from the unit. Once again, gently align to the binary of the unit with a bracket in this position, snap it in, then going up, a little bit to the right, and then secure the card. Let me show you the back of the unit now. We are in the back of the unit now. As you can tell, this is basically the bracket you're gonna find in every single slot of the unit. And now we're gonna use the brackets included with the FN60 card in order to get the back plate. So you see, I just align it in here and make it a snap and start to screw in the back bracket to my card. Simple as that. So now you're ready to power on your unit. In order to do it so, just press the red button on the left side. As you can see, there will be the Kiloview logo and the loading of the operating system. And after we see the IP address in the middle of the screen, it means that we are ready to operate. Let's now move to the web UI of the Cradle RF02. All right, we are in the web UI of RF02. This is the home page. As you can see, we get all the cards connected to the unit. In this specific case, I got 3 FN60s, 3 FN50, and 3 FMG 400. From this view in here, we are looking at the network of our Cradle RF02 is now connected with a 10 gigabit SFP plus to my main switch. And if we click on a single card, we can have the network activity of each single card one by one. If we scroll down, we'll see the device status statistics. And this device status statistics, we're gonna have the overview of encoding, decoding, gateway, and bonding cards. We're gonna see the channel we have in the matter of those cards set up. We can select the cards we have and also the external device. As I mentioned before, this can be used basically as a Kilolink server. So every P3 and P3 Mini can be connected to the unit as a bonding server. Let's move into the Manage tab. And as you can notice, this is a sort of brand new refresh interface from what you have seen in a Kilolink Server Pro. So basically on the left, we got all our devices. We can create multiple groups for devices, whether to be in between the specifics of the cards, like group for FN60, FN50s, or even from sites, internal, external devices, and so on. Compared to Kilolink Server Pro, you might notice we have this network tab in here. Basically, every single card will show up where they are connected in the network. Now everything is settled as DHCP, so you can tell every single card will take an IP address directly from my router DHCP lease. From this main page, we can do a lot of stuff actually. We can navigate through encoders, decoder, gateway, and bonding card directly by clicking on it. If we go into encoding, we're gonna see all the units that are now serving as encoders, decoders, media gateway, and bonding. Okay, so let's move forward and then we come back in here to show all the solution we can have. On the user, of course, we can create users and user group to access the RF02 from different users. Then we have the firmware page where we can upload the firmware for our devices and basically launch it through this interface here to update multiple devices at the same time. We're gonna have also the log of the unit, and then we're gonna have also the settings. In the setting, we're gonna have all the basic setting you might find, like region, NTP server, languages, and device name. The system setting, when we can schedule restart, the firmware update, the restore button, and the reboot of the unit. The network setting, whether it be DHCP or manual, and also the network switch, where we can basically also turn on and off the link aggregation to connect multiple fiber ports at once to have more through output for the Cradle unit. But let's go back into the Manage tab and let's figure it out a little bit, this new interface. So compared to Kilolink server, now we're able to see the device quite clearly, and we can access those by simply clicking this right button here. So for example, if I go into the FN50, I can click the button and I will redirect to the UI of the unit. And we can also click it from this left menu here, okay? And we do have the options for every single card to assign an IP, moving to a group, reset all the parameter, and restart the card. On this search, we can also, for example, search for a specific name, and we're gonna basically isolate the name of the cards or the name you get at the device name. So it will be super easy to manage and control all your both the cards and the external devices. The cool thing about the design the Cradle RF02 has is that no matter the cards you put it in, it will be automatically discovered via layer 2 from the unit itself. So everything works over the MAC address. No matter if you receive an IP address, now the card will be visible in the system. And from now on, when you get the card inserted into the unit, you will have a lots of things you can do. So if I select, for example, I can select the first FN60's card. I can do performing firmware upgrade. So if I click on the firmware upgrade, I will have a list of firmware I can basically trigger to the unit. And I have also this quite nice feature, the assign IP address. So whether to be DHCP or manual, you can assign multiple IP addresses all at once with one single button. Let me show you how easy it is. Let's pretend, for example, I'm gonna give a sort of address like this, okay? And I want to start from this .10 solution, and then I want an increment of 10 digits on the last octet. So basically speaking, I can settle every of my parameter from here, get the net mask, for example, and the DNS to connect to internet. And once I do it, as far as I got selected 3 unit, you will see the machine, the orchestrator into the Cradle itself will do all this for me in one single shot. If I press OK, you will notice in a glance of seconds, these cards now have changing IP address, and there will be a shift of 10 digit on the last octet. So I can easily set up a static IP address for all the cards and have a super incredible organized solution all at once. In order to come back and go to the HCP, is as simple as select again address, assign IP address, and press OK in the HCP. And you will see in a glance of a eye, it will be again the HCP for the cards. It's really super easy and intuitive. let me now show you what you can do compared to the Kilolink server. For example, we can decide our cards to be encoder or decoder from this menu. Or for the FMG 400, we can decide whether to be used as a gateway or as a bonding card. So basically speaking, you see I've already registered a P3, and the P3 can communicate with the FMG 400 when this one is settled as a bonding card. So simple as that. Let's say, for example, I want to change this first card from encode to decode, and just press it OK. And the card will perform an auto reboot, and it will reconfigure itself from encoder to decoder. Okay, so there will be a time involving for this kind of action. But if you refresh the page, we're gonna notice in a few seconds the instance will be offline and will come back online right away when the card will be ready in the code mode. So simple as that, I can trigger this kind of option directly from the Manage and Device page. Further than that, as I mentioned before, we can use the system as a sort of Kilolink bonding solution. So as you can notice now, it's back online as the decoder card anyways. Let me show you how this thing works. Compared to Kilolink server, for example, our P3 and P3 Mini use the CPU of the on-premise or cloud server to be transcoded into the various SRT, NDI-HX, RTMP format. In the Cradle, instead, you just need basically one FMG 400 acting as a bonding card. So the encoders will be routed to these FMGs 400 you've selected automatically with a load balancer, and it will be able to transcode every bonding backpack arriving into the Cradle and generate the stream for us. Let's go into the encoder tab, for example, and let's select the P3 demo. If we click on the gear button and we press play on the preview, you're gonna see I got my video feed, and I've already created NDI-HX transcoding. So let me stop this just to show you how it works, and let's redo it. So if I add the stream service and select, for example, NDI-HX, and I'm gonna call it P3, channel name P3, and press OK, you will see this menu is exactly like Kilolink Server Pro. But what it's actually doing, you see, is addressing this streaming feed to the FMG 400 that we have selected as a bonding card. So if we go into the bonding tab, we're gonna have the FMG 400 actually transcoding our bonding backpack and generate an NDI-HX. And we can check this out into the Studio Monitor, for example. So if I open now a Studio Monitor instance, I will see there will be an FMG 400 that is generating my NDI-HX transcoding for the P3. Easy as that. So everything you will always be able to do with a Kilolink server, you will be able to do it directly within the Cradle RF02. Let's try, for example, to create an RTMP server to YouTube, shall we? So we go into the YouTube site, and we're gonna go live. I'm gonna be back in here, select encoder, go to P3, and add streaming service. This time we're gonna call it like YouTube. and go back in here, copy the URL, like / and copy the stream key and press OK. Now we have the RTMP streaming still created from the FMG400, and we can have a look in here. And you see our FMG400 with its service ID is creating 2 streams from our P3. And if we go back into YouTube, here we go. So basically we are streaming both in NDI-HX and to YouTube simultaneously. As it's supposed to work for the Kilolink server, each FMG400 will be able to basically transcode overall 8 different signals, which is meaning you can have 8 different bonding backpack doing one single stream each, or one single encoder stream up to 8 destinations simultaneously. So the load balancer then, whenever you're gonna settle another FMG400, for example, as bonding, will take care of load balancing all your bonding backpack automatically. So all the stream will be completely automated and generated in base of the load of the card itself. So let me show you how to add the device now. Let's say I want to add the device as I do in Kilolink Server Pro. Let's add our P3 Mini here. So exactly as we do in the Kilolink server, we're gonna copy the serial number. We're gonna give it the name like P3 Mini, paste the serial number, and generate the authorization code. Once we have copied with this button, we can go into the P3 Mini, insert the IP address of our Cradle system, the authorization code, and press OK. You can tell Kilolink connecting and bonding is ready. And if we move back to here, we have both the P3 and the P3 Mini connected. So for example, let me say I want this unit to go inside my external device group. You see I got the P3 Mini here. I can do it directly from this tab with the move and then go to external device, or I can go from the left panel here, still click on move, go external device. So in this way, it will be super easy to basically manage all your device all at once with ease. All right, I think we can have a look now on how the media gateway function works. So if we click on this button right here, we're gonna see the UI of the FMG400 in gateway mode. As you can tell, is a lot redefined in terms of UI itself. There will be an output menu, the source menu, and a panel menu. So let's start from the conception of how the FMG400 works. So we can address multiple sources as inputs and create different outputs. And then we can also create panels like an NDI core to route input to destinations. In this specific matter, what I want to do is doing, for example, let's add an NDI-HX source. As you can tell, we can still doing like SRT, RTMP, and all the other protocol as a network flow, NDI and NDI-HX, and use this as an RTMP server. So these are all my sources. I'm gonna grab the P3 local NDI-HX. Basically, this is the H.264 generated by the P3 in a local area network. And what I can do is I can create an output for it and transcode into a different format, which is really cool. So let me basically, before we do everything, show you how easy it is, for example, to do NDIA checks transcoded to RTMP. So if we come back in here into our bonding, we can basically stop the RTMP we were sending to YouTube. And we're gonna send it through the FMG 400 via the media gateway, okay? So we select again our media gateway card. Let's go into the device and access the web UI of it. Now here it will be stopping, and we're gonna re-adding the feed within the FMG 400. So if I click on the output now, you will see there will be a lot of information. So let's start really in the detail mode. For the protocol, we can transcode the source into all these various protocols. For the specific matter, let's say we want RTMP to send this to YouTube, right? So we're gonna create a name like YouTube. All right, we're gonna select our input source. Okay, I'm gonna select my P3 Mini. And in this section, we can decide whether to transcoding the signal into different format. In the specific, of course, RTMP just support H.264, but we can have lots of other function like frame rate, resolution, bit rate, and so on. For this specific matter, we'll remove the video transcoding, so we're gonna have direct NDIA checks to transcode it into RTMP directly to YouTube. Of course, you can do the modification also on the audio setting. So let's be back in here and create another stream. So we're gonna copy and paste all the data from YouTube into the Cradle, so we're being able to basically stream to YouTube. I will copy the link of YouTube / and I'm gonna put my stream key. All right, and I'm gonna press apply. I'm not going to enable yet, just to show you what happened here. So you see, I got an output ready to receive an input basically. But what we can do is go into the panel section and create intersection between inputs and outputs. That's one of the coolest part of the FMG 400. So we're gonna call it like preset 1. If I click apply, you might see this overview in the UI, and it will remind you something like NDI core, where we're gonna have source list and output list. So we're gonna click on add source, and we're gonna have what we have added as a source in here, and we're gonna have the output. So we're gonna select YouTube. All right. Now we have our available source, and what we can do is doing a cross point in between these two sources. All right. Here, this says, can you want to delete the intersection? I will do apply. I'll go into the output, enable this up, go into the panel, cross point, and now, basically, when I click into it, this gray out intersection will become normal. So I've established a cross point in between my input source to my output source. So when we go back to YouTube, you will see I'm starting to stream to YouTube. That's really a powerful feature of the media gateway card. So what we can do is creating different output and addressing different input source. So if I go into the output mode now, and I'm going to create another different stream. Let's say we want to use SRT. I'm going to give it a name and a port. So I will call it SRT FMG 400. And I'm going to use the listener mode. And I'm going to keep it all the same parameters. So basically, we'll not use the transcoder function. We're just using the wrapping of the codec itself, and press apply. If we go back into the panel now, in our output list, we can add our made SRT preset. And if we go back into the cross point, there you go. You see, I can address this source now still to an SRT feed. This is pretty powerful because allows us basically to send one single source to multiple output at the same time. In this specific method, we're gonna enable the SRT now. And if we go back into our panel and in the cross point, you will see I'm basically give the same NDI-HX to two different outputs. And now we can see this happening. It's just copying this one and inserting into a decoder like VLC, for example. So I open my VLC tab and I paste it into here and press play. As you can notice, I'm both streaming in SRT and to YouTube at the same time with a single FMG 400. This is a very powerful option. The FMG 400 is able to transcode up to 1080p to NDI, high bandwidth, and one 4K channel. And when I meant transcode is about in the operation tab, this video setting and audio setting, where you basically can modify every single aspect of the stream itself. If you're using as a wrapper, you can have multiple channels, way more than 4 channels, because now basically we are taking NDI-HX, which is already H.264, being outputted as it is into H.264 for both RTMP and SRT. So it should be capable of more than dozens of channels altogether with a single card. From various tests, depending on the bandwidth and the codec you're gonna use, you will have around these 30 to 50 channels, basically. All right, we can have now a look on the FN50s and FN60 and show all their features. Okay, we are back in the device menu of RF02. So basically, as I mentioned before, we can have encode, decode, and so on, and access the cards directly from the left panel menu if we want to. So whether we're gonna have encode, decode, and so on, we can access all our cards directly from this left menu. So as you can tell, the interface UI is exactly the one you always know from N60s and M50s. And through the latest update, we have introduced several new advanced features, especially in encode mode for these products. We now can do NDI high bandwidth plus NDI HX, NDI bandwidth plus network stream, and divided also just NDI bandwidth, NDI HX, and so on. So what we are able to do is create not only a stream for a local area network, but create a stream for basically SRT, for example. So if I want to send the same stream For both the local production and remote production, I can activate the SRT stream, copy this SRT link, put a VLC player, for example, paste the link, and we're able to basically get the stream remotely everywhere in the world, which is super convenient. Another cool feature we have added, of course, is HDR encoding, decoding for both FN50s and FN60s. But one of my best feature, I can tell the one I'm most excited is we have introduced NDI bridge as a client mode for these cards. So what does this mean? We can go into the settings and go into the NDI setting, and you see there will be a nice NDI bridge tab now. So what we can do is activating the card as an encoding signal to join an NDI bridge host directly, which is super powerful for both local and remote production, totally in NDI. So let me open the remote server I got in here. Okay, this is my host for NDI bridge. Okay, so it's waiting for the clients. I've activated this one and it's waiting for clients to connect it. And you can see one client connection at the moment. So whether is probably I got an already configured card, but if it's not this one, let me check this out. So FN60 number one, yep. Settings. Okay. Anyways, we can set up the IP address of the server. Sorry. In here, we can give it a name like N60 bridge, for example, and put in the stream key and press apply. Once this will be connected, we're gonna be able to receive this FN60 feed into the host machine, and using the power of NDI bridge directly to see the feed and produce completely remote. Okay, you can tell I got the connection established now, and I can open a studio monitor. If I open a studio monitor, you see I got N60 bridge. And this N60 bridge can open actually the video feed coming from N60. Completely a remote solution with zero headache. So we can produce for the local area network and for the remote production all at the same time with the same unit. It's just a firmware update, so everything is already included into our Kiloview products and both FN60s and FN50. So I think that's it for the demo, and we're gonna have our Q&A session. Let me be back on screen and try to reply to all your questions. Hope you like this part of the demonstration, and let's move forward. Okay, guys, thank you to attending this webinar. Meanwhile, I'm doing the demo. I've seen a little bit of question coming into the chat. Just to reply to Matthew and Max, we're talking about how actually the Cradle RF02 is working in terms of the Kilolink server part. So let me try to better explain the concept here. We got, this is the interface of the RF02, and this is the normal interface of the Kilolink server you are getting used to operate with our P3 and P3 Mini. As you can tell, on top of the URL bar, this is my one instance of my cloud server where I've installed the Kiloview Server Pro. So basically, you need a static IP address. That's the big deal, because the forwarding need to be done, of course, in terms of cloud or on-premise solution, in the way that you can connect your units and bond the different networks that P3 and P3 Mini being connected to. But as we can tell, I'm not actually using the unit into a local mode. You can tell this is just the local address of the RF02 in the local area network, but reality-wise is that I've connected this unit throughout my static IPv4 in the lab. So this machine has been forwarded with the same ports you're going to use for Kiloview Server Pro, basically, in order to allow the bonding algorithm to put all the network together from the P3 and P3 Minis. The big difference is the operational side of it, because basically when you decide to get one FMG 400 as a bonding card, this is act like a sort of GPU acceleration process transcode for your P3 and P3 Mini. So the only differences you might encounter in terms of network related is that in NDI-HX and all those codec like SRT that will work pretty much for crossing the internet when you're gonna create the stream, and especially if you're gonna use the listener mode, not in the caller mode, but let's say we're gonna use the listener mode. When I create the stream, the IP address shown is the one of the FMG 400, because in this moment, this unit has been assigned with a load balancer to this FMG 400. So whether you got your cards and you will have your IP address is just about netting the FMG 400 you are using in order to use SRT, for example, in listener mode. It's not very much different than what you do with a Kiloview Server Pro. Another aspect we are evaluating, though, is that probably speaking, we can check within the new advanced SDK from NDI if we can use the compute unit itself inside of the Cradle and basically give a little bit a more classic design from what you have seen in Kiloview Server, and use the compute unit engine itself to then distribute our patented RUDP transport from the P3 and P3 Mini to only one IP address to simplify the process. But this is still a work in progress discussion. So definitely speaking, what we are looking for the Cradle will be also ported to the cloud or on-premise instance of Kiloview Server Pro, because this is the advancement of the idea behind the software part. So, okay, I will take a look into the chat if there will be some other questions. Don't be shy, guys. I'll be here for you. So, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dayu. Yeah, because I've seen the yeah. Yeah, as I explained, what you see in this window is basically the compute board I show at the beginning of the presentation. So there's a computer ARM architecture that is running both the orchestrator part, so both the software part of the Cradle that take all the cards together and take control of all the APIs and part of course, of the switching board. And the FMG 400 instead is actually used as a CPU, but in terms of transcoding power for the P3 and P3 Mini. As I mentioned, this is already working as a solution. We have got it because the idea is that this platform, as far as you can put, 18 cards, could handle, potentially speaking, a lot of signal altogether, way more than the 18 slots of the unit itself. While in a Kilolink server, basically, this is a simple, solution in the cloud. You can have like 2 cores, 2 gigs of RAM, and everything is basically orchestrated by the CPU processing power. The FMG 400 basically gives you the possibility to not just wrap what is coming, but basically transcode and do a lot of other stuff. Like if you use it as a gateway, we've shown before, you can do many things like changing all the parameter in the video setting, the encoding, the resolution, and so on. So the idea is pretty much over this way of using the unit, whether probably speaking through firmware update, we can also evaluate to use the compute board orchestrator to just transcode the signal coming from P3 and P3 Mini and use basically the FMG 400 just for the complete transcoding in between SRT, RTMP, and all the other protocols that basically aren't NDI-HX, because we are already using our UDP to send the stream to the platform. So it's already kind of NDI related technology, let's say. So we'll definitely figure out through time and through firmware update how to better implement this platform. Yeah. So if we need to use a public IP address, what I need is specification with the OS Linux install. Well, for the part of the Kilolink Server Pro, it's very depending on how many channels you have to run, especially in terms of both bandwidth, of course, and codec you're gonna use. But for the management part, the Kilolink server, it's just a Docker container. So it's a really lightweight solution. But for the transcoding part, indeed, you might need a little bit more power according to how many signal you have to manage. And anyways, in our site, you got all the minimum specification and the recommendation for the VPS, for example, in the cloud or the premise computer you can use. But definitely speaking, as I mentioned before, to be frank, you can use around from 4 core to 8 core, from 4 to 8 gigs of RAM, and you being able to operate easily with a bunch of P3 and P3 minis without no problem. Let's see if we got some other. Yeah, still, of course, still about that same question. You do need an IPv4 for the specific reason that we are combining all the network in the P3 and P3 Mini. So we need an endpoint where we can reconstruct the signal with all the packets all together to get stream out to other platform or SRT in a PTP mode or NDIHX, whatever. So we have to collect all the data coming from the aggregation of the network and debonding to create the stream. So the IPv4 in a static mode, it's of course something you have to get. All right. Absolutely. I think definitely. Thank you, Dayu, and I hope you get all a great vacation time, guys. Thank you for the attendance, and to the ones who come to the IBC, definitely be sure to visit us so you can have all-end kind of vibing experience with Cradle RF02. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye, guys.